Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.
Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. You're watching another edition of The Small Business Show right here at ASBN.com. Baseball season is here. Today we are joined by the CEO and co-founder of Dugout Mugs, Kris Dehnert, and we'll dive into Kris's journey, how the idea of turning baseball bats into drinkware came to life, the challenges he faced, and the lessons that he's learned along the way in growing a very successful brand. I'll let him tell you the success story. They've been featured on shows like GMA, The Today Show, and World News Tonight, which is the #1 viewed news show out there for all of you. We were waiting here at ASBN for him to be on all those smaller shows, but we're so happy now, Kris, that you've joined us on our show here at ASBN. So thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. They are Dugout Mugs. I know Our viewers are going to get a lot out of today's talk with you and learning about how this whole thing came about. So I'll let you start right there. How did this whole thing come about?
Well, about 8 years ago, I had a partner who was a pitcher in the Blue Jays organization, and he invented, and he saw a coach cutting bat barrels off of bats to make a hitting drill, like an apparatus. And he thought to himself, can you hollow it out and turn it into a mug? And as it turns out, you certainly can. And you can make a heck of a business out of it too. And we grassroots.
Wow.
Going to baseball games, talking to people, farmers markets. That's where it all started.
Sure.
And we got a heck of a team behind us and a cool idea.
Yeah.
And we kind of built a community and built a vibe around our company and our customer base, which is now over 1 million customers, which is kind of wild when you think about where we started.
That is fantastic. Do you mind sharing with our audience what your revenues look like?
Yeah, so since inception, because there's been a lot of fluctuation, obviously we've had COVID and we've had some other things in the middle, but as of the beginning of this year, we were over $50 million in sales.
That is fantastic.
So to operate in such a way of being a small business, yet to be able to reach some of these levels, I feel like it's kind of the American dream, man.
There's
really,
no question about it. Nothing more American than baseball, right?
Right. But exactly, and we make mugs for everybody.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. So now, obviously, you're not using used bats from coaches or teams. So talk to me about that. Are you literally buying bats and cutting them still, or are you having a bat company design the mug for you? Or walk me through that.
We take the billet that is supposed to be a bat and we lathe it into 3 barrels instead.
Okay.
It's way less wasteful, but we started by cutting craft bats in half.
Wow.
That's where the idea came from. But we have other products, bottle openers and shot glasses and wine glasses and things like that. So, we're taking the baseball wood and turning it into the mugs instead of making it into the bat first.
So you start out grassroots, you're out in front of ballparks and friends are getting the word out, friends and family. At what point in time did you say, okay, this is a full-fledged business, I'm going to leave my full-time gig and focus on this business?
I knew it before we even started,
really,
honestly. So Dugout Mugs is my 9th company.
Okay.
I have a knack for finding cool, fun ideas, scaling them, developing them, selling them. Okay. That's what I love to do. That's my sport.
Okay.
And Dugout, from its inception, I saw this vision, different variations of it, but I knew pretty early on that we were going to make a big run for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what about companies that want to put their logo on the side? Do you also do that for companies that maybe want to give them away as gifts or employee gifts or what have you?
Yeah. In fact, several of the mugs you see behind me are custom logo. It's actually one of our fastest growing verticals in the company.
Wow.
We make mugs for Fox and Coors, Miller, Corona, Bud,
That's
Yamava
fantastic.
Casinos, Hard Rock, you name it. We're doing, but then we're also, Frankie's Bar on the corner wants to order 36 mugs with a Brewers logo on it and
Yeah.
his logo on the back. We can do that too,
That's
which is pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Where is the company headquartered, and how many associates, employees do you have today?
We're in Central Florida,
Okay.
right between Tampa and Orlando, a little town called, well, it's not little anymore, Lakeland, Winter Haven.
Oh,
right,
yeah. Know it well.
Center of the state.
Yeah, the home of Publix, right?
Home of Publix,
That's
yeah,
right.
and the Detroit Tigers spring training.
There you go. Perfect.
Great place to be.
Yeah.
And I think we're about 16 right now. And,
Okay.
and if we include some of our manufacturers,
Sure.
in Canada or wherever, it's,
Sure.
yeah, we're probably 15 to 20 people.
Now, the other 8 or 9 companies that you started, were they as creative and as fun as this one?
All across the board.
Yeah.
I've had, I was in the restaurant industry. I had an apparel brand.
Okay.
I've always just loved working for myself.
Sure.
And creating, operating in an atmosphere that has no ceiling.
Right. Right.
It can grow to the extent that I do. Right.
Right.
Like that's what it was really about. The niche specifically wasn't really I opened Gold's Gyms for a little while.
Okay.
And ran gyms. And so I had a restaurant, like I said, and
Yeah.
it's across the board. But where I really found a sweet spot is e-commerce and fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a golf company, Big Golf. We do custom, again, corporate logo golf balls and things like that.
Nice.
So yeah, so I get to do beer and baseball and golf and cigars and things like that. Like it's a fun space for me.
Sure.
And I feel like that's kind of where I've gravitated towards.
Yeah. This is such a unique gift idea too. I mean, if somebody's looking for the perfect Father's Day gift, especially around this time of the year, what better than to do something like this? Can somebody get their dad's name engraved on the mug?
They can. And in fact, we even do photos.
Oh, very
you could
cool.
take a favorite photo and
Yeah.
wrap it on a mug. We do a lot of that for Mother's Day.
Wow.
Actually.
Okay.
The kids at the ballpark.
Yeah.
The little T-ballers or wherever, right? They could be in
great
college.
idea.
But
Sure.
we put their photos on the mugs for the moms, the dads. But I always tell people order early because, especially with some of the publicity we've gotten,
Yeah.
we're going to sell out. It happens
right.
every single year, and people think it's a marketing hack, but
Sure.
it's not.
It sounds like you're off and running for sure. Can you share some stories with us about growing the business? Were you ever sitting there saying, oh my gosh, I got this order, it's going to cost me a fortune to fill it. Maybe I don't have that capital needed, as is the case with so many entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, pick a day and I'll share the story from that day. It doesn't really matter. It's relative. The baker who's dealing with a $500 issue, and that's a big deal.
Sure.
That's still as real as me dealing with a $50,000 issue.
Right.
It's relative.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like you got to have the grit. Got to have that dog in you a little bit to get through as an entrepreneur, especially these days. There's been one of my strengths and I believe is negotiation and communication.
Okay.
So what I've found is that when I ran into those roadblocks and issues financially is usually the most common.
Mm-hmm.
What I did is I've loved this saying forever, and I've used it all the time, and it's creating a win-win situation does not always use the same currency.
Yeah.
So identifying what their key what their metric is and what mine is, and then negotiating and creating a deal that makes both parties happy. I've been successful at that.
Yeah.
So as issues arise with money, it's like, hey, how about we do this? And then, it just getting creative and staying fluid, I think is been paramount. And then just combating fear with action.
Yeah. What other advice do you have for small business owners and entrepreneurs, those that are about to embark on opening up a company and hopefully it is as successful as Dugout Mugs has been? But what advice would you have for the young entrepreneur out there?
So much. I'm only 43, but I've had a lot of time in business and a lot of experiences. And the one that always sticks out to me is chase the happy, right? And the money usually shows up. I feel like too many people spend too much time doing things they don't like with people they hate.
Yeah.
And life is really short, and it's such a cliche,
Yeah.
but the older I get, the more I can identify with it.
Yeah.
Right. So chase the happy,
Yeah. So
create, build a job that you don't want to take a vacation from, because money is interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like too many people put money on a pedestal, yet it's one of the most common things there is. It's insanely easy to get.
Yep.
You never own it. You just have a turn with it.
That's right.
And then it's currency. It always moves, right? Currency.
So true.
So currency just goes to the next person, the next thing, the next, you win it, you lose it. So to put something so common on a pedestal and let that be the North Star, it's kind of hard to ever find fulfillment with that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you identify multiple currencies, and I did a talk on this one time, in identifying multiple currencies, time, experience, fulfillment, capital, money matters, right? I'm not an idiot, but like having multiple currencies, what you'll find is that they can kind of coexist, and you can acquire them at different speeds at different times, but you're never losing just because you're not making dollars right then.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean? And I think reflecting on that.
Absolutely. It's great advice.
Reflecting on that is important.
No question about it. Great advice, because I think too many times entrepreneurs do focus on just, getting that money, getting that cash. Here's what I'm in it for. And they make a mistake in that area. And I think
it's not the only ruler.
That's right.
It's not the only ruler.
That's right.
You can measure with.
Hey, if we were having this discussion 5 years from now, what does Dugout Mugs look like?
I think we're going to be international. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Some international distribution. I think our customer base is going to expand, probably 2 to 3x. So I imagine probably 2.5 to 3 million customers.
Okay.
At that point, and our offering will have diversified. Though our orders are about 1 in every 5 orders is a reorder from someone.
Oh, nice.
Because it's so highly gifted.
Yeah.
So, but there's only so many gifting opportunities for this type of product.
Right.
Diversifying into, maybe not franchise, but maybe live selling at farmers markets and baseball tournaments, and having outsourced representatives popping up. Imagine a mom that wants to make an extra $4,000 or $2,000 a month.
Sure.
That's very relevant.
Sure.
But she's already got to be at baseball. Why not set up a table and boom, 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 make, $500 to $1,000 a weekend. So just getting more creative with distribution, because the one thing that is inevitable is the cost per acquisition of a customer is going to continually increase when you lean into platforms like, Meta, X, wherever.
Yeah.
And especially with the political climate, never ending chaos and arguing.
Oh yeah.
People are leaving some of these platforms, so they're harder to get in touch with.
Sure.
And the bottomless pockets that, the black holes that all this money comes out of,
right?
Trying to sway people one way or another, or start fights because nobody's fighting right now. I feel like buying those eyeballs makes it more expensive for someone who's trying to share an idea or a product or an offering.
Right.
So getting creative with the influencer market, the micro influencer market, the affiliate networking, someone who owns a baseball sunflower seed company, let's say.
Sure.
They have 1 million customers, but they're already at the ballpark. There's a really good synergy there.
That's right.
So identifying synergy, I think we're moving vastly into like a season of collaboration.
Sure.
Hey, we have something cool, fun, and unique. This works great with weddings. And then I team up with wedding planners.
There you go.
Right. Groomsmen gifts.
Right.
Things like that, I think is really where Dugout's going to be in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
And then a few of the other entities that I'm going to have that are in line with the same audience so that it can can kind of cross-pollinate.
Sure. The data that you are now able to extract from those million customers is incredibly valuable, as you know. You know where they live, you know how they shop, you know what their spending is. I mean, you know them on a first name basis, literally.
We even know the words used to describe our product. The number one word used is cute.
Yeah.
The number one buyer of my product is a 42-year-old woman.
There you go. There you go.
We dialed it in because now we know how to market our product.
Right.
And I think that's something that a lot of entrepreneurs aren't doing, is they're not asking enough questions.
Yep.
And they're not listening enough. I explained this to an old partner. I was like, it doesn't matter what you think. It matters what they think.
That's
so
exactly
ask them
right.
what they think.
That's right.
And then when they tell you, listen.
Yeah. Yep. So true. So true. Kris Dehnert, thank you so much for spending so much time with us here at ASBN. I know that a lot of our viewers will get a lot out of today's discussion with you. Congratulations on all your success at Dugout Mugs. For those of you, we're going to show the information right on the screen here. You've been watching some of the mugs on the screen, but here's how you can get your Dugout mug, which we highly recommend you do. It's an incredible product. I'd love to do a follow-up with you to see how business is moving along.
Yeah, absolutely. The season just started, and that's rocking and rolling. We have All-Star. We heard from Capital One and T-Mobile. They're ready to do some mugs for All-Star.
Wow, that's great.
So that's going to be exciting.
That's great.
Yeah, it's going to be a good year, man. I really feel good about that. With the publicity, we have Good Morning America next week, a week from today. So yeah, it's just one thing after another, and if people keep inviting me on, I'm gonna keep showing up until we've taken this thing to the top.
That's right. That's the attitude. Thanks so much, Kris. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks for joining us for another edition of The Small Business Show with Jim Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.com.